Here we are on this Sunday morning. This is a Sunday mindset session. Luke Moroney here, Tony Meredith there, in the red corner, in the blue corner.
Correct.
I've got the red shirt on.
I'm in the white corner.
In the white corner. Well, I'm going to move over this side a little bit so Tony can get a little bit in screen. We've got the Story Bridge behind us. It's been pouring down this morning, and Mum's come on to share all the fun and excitement for these mindset session.
He's still here. Catherine, he's not going home.
There we go. We won't talk about that too much. Nigel, good to have you on as well. Sean says hello and good morning. It is all about the Sunday mindset sessions. Want to know if you guys are out of bed already, or you're actually just making it, or you've already started to make it happen on this Sunday morning. I've already done my run, done the sit-ups, done push-ups, a couple of bicep curls. Feeling fit, and
I haven't done anywhere near any of that. So I've got up, had a few coffees, done some reading, listened to a podcast, and here I am. But good on you, mate, for doing all that. Amazing.
Well, you got to pump up on a Sunday morning.
You have, absolutely.
Just about to, says Sean, laugh out loud. Tony Gallagher, good to have you on as well. A lot of people coming on this Sunday morning. Tony, how's the week been for you? How are you feeling? I am still up in Queensland, as you said. Gabby says hi. It is a great atmosphere. It's warmer. It's COVID-free.
Absolutely. It's a little bit colder today.
And everyone else in the nation, all the sporting stars are all up here too.
They're all up here. We've got all the sports. Well, we said that last week, right? We've got every single sport. Late breaking news. We've now got the NBA coming as well.
NBA?
NBA, it's going to come to Brisbane. The whole lot, mate. We're bringing it all
serious?
here. NFL's coming, the whole lot. So Brisbane will be the hub. Gary, they're all moving here. No, look, it's been a great week, actually. Although it's very overcast. I don't know if you can see that behind me here. It's an overcast kind of day here in Brisbane. We were worried, actually, because it was pouring down rain a couple of hours ago. We thought, how are we going to do this? But Mother Nature has just parted the ways for the next hour or so, just for us. Just for us.
Just for us. No, it's actually for you guys. It's not for us. It's for you. So you can get us out in the bright, sunny skies of Brisbane. Absolutely. And you can enjoy some of the fun and festivities. Obviously, we light up.
We do.
With a bit of sunshine, with a bit of fun.
We do.
Clearing beautiful scenes in Brisbane as well. So let's go into, we've put in a lot of fluff so far.
So much fluff. But we're doing it as the audience builds, right? So that's okay.
That's right. And what we really want to talk about today on the Sunday Mindset session is all about those deep conversations, getting deep. This was generated out of our last week's session. Halfway through, I just decided, had a thought come to mind. Let's talk about deep conversations next week. We are here today to talk about deep conversations. It's not ones that we often do have. People talk about the weather, people talk about what's going on with your job and so forth. Everything's good, family's good, this is good, that's good.
Very surface level.
Surface level. But what Tony and I want to bring about today, the whole idea of the deep conversations, and we've got Thomas come on and Christine, good to have you on. Thinking about those deep conversations, Tony, are you often having them?
Yes, I do. I mean, as a coach, of course, I'm having those sorts of conversations because ultimately it's about getting people to move forward. So part of my day job is doing that. But also for me, deep conversations is not always with someone else. Deep conversations with yourself, right? So that's important. So we're not always getting as deep as we need to be with ourselves. So it's both deep conversations with someone else.
Who's the man in the mirror?
Correct. You know, we talk about this often. So it's about having deep conversations with others and deep conversations with yourself as well. But it's incredibly important because, like we said, we talk about all these superficial things, the footy, the family and whatnot, and they're all important things. I'm not trying to dismiss that for a moment. But if you want to move your life forward, you have to get deep because ultimately it comes down to two words, self-awareness. Right, so you need to get aware, and the only way you're going to get aware is if you take the time, if you venture into a deep, dark spot and you start to understand what truly makes you tick, what's holding you back. And then from there, once you've uncovered and become aware, it's then up to you what you want to do. So I want to start off with something this morning. Awareness plus action equals transformation. Right, so you've got to be aware.
Awareness plus action equals transformation. It's a nice little takeaway for everyone this early on in this in the video. But it's having that conversation with that man in the mirror or woman in the mirror. I use the man in the mirror because of the song by Michael Jackson. But
and you're a man.
Well, that too. But you know, we've got an audience, a broad audience.
The person in the mirror.
But I'm using that.
I get it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
okay. Yeah. So, I guess we talk about having those deep conversations, and Tony and I are often having these whether they're with ourselves, with family members, friends, through our work that we do as well. Like I'm deep diving into people's financial ideas and thoughts and their fears and anxieties that are holding them back from investing in property and so forth. And Tony's talking about, in your business or in your career, what you're doing in terms of, making that leap forward, taking that action, just experiencing new things. Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the beauty of them all? I like that, Thomas.
And the thing, we don't always want to hear it, but quite often it's having someone tell us what's really going on, maybe a little bit uncomfortable, maybe a little bit confronting initially, but providing that person is doing it from a place of great intent, they're doing it to help you move forward. They're saying, hey, this is what I'm seeing. Right? And if you didn't have someone do that, I think that's a gift, right? Quite frankly. Like if someone's going to spend the time to get really deep with you and to provide you that level of feedback, I would take that on as a gift, right? Because feedback is fuel, right? We don't always see what's going on. We're caught up in whatever the stories are that we tell ourselves. Someone gives you some advice. Really think about it. What are you going to do with that advice?
I guess a couple of things on that idea is, you want that person to be asking you questions so you can actually speak them out loud for yourself. So that's an important one. If the person just like drumming you, oh, you should be doing this, you should be doing that, you should be doing that, and it's not really resonating with you, they've got to give you time to actually speak. So I think that's the powerful. I always talk about speak out loud. That person needs to actually be asking you questions so that you give the opportunity to explore some of those deep things that are really triggering you deep down inside. What it is about for you that's going on. It's not what they think is going on. How do you think around the questions, Tony?
Oh, questions are critical. So as a coach, there's two key things as a coach, or whether you be in sales. The first one is ask the questions. The second is what you're doing.
Listening.
Right? And here's the thing. If you need a reminder, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth. So listen twice as much as you speak. Now, I would prefer you even stretch that out and listen 4 times as much as you speak. But as a minimum, 2 ears, 1 mouth, listen twice as much as you speak.
Absolutely. I think, like Tony and I do get in deep conversations with people and often, that can come across as really, mind-numbing and, really intense. And this is kind of conversations that we have on a regular basis with people. I don't feel like I get too intense for myself. I probably get very intense for other people. But there is also a fun aspect of what we do. Like, Tony's at the back. We did a couple of videos at the back before. We're doing some star jumps and joking around as well. So it's not all serious. Tony Robbins doesn't get up there on stage and just blurt out. There is a bit of fun aspect on it. So we've got to bring some fun to it and remember that even if we're in those serious conversations, and it's a good reminder for myself too, Tony,
absolutely.
to have some fun around what's going on, experience some of these things. Julian, Tony, Reese, good to have you on. A few others that are also joined.
The other thing is the intention behind it. Right, so providing it's a great intention behind it, which it is, right? When we have conversations with people, then the intention is pure, the intention is right because we want to help people move forward. We're doing it because we want you to tap into your potential, right? And perhaps there's a reason that you're not tapping into your potential, and we want to listen, ask the questions and listen and understand with a view of then getting you to move forward, because nothing would make us prouder, and it's happened so many times here on the Sunday Mindset session where we'll say something during the session, someone will then private message us afterwards and say, hey, thanks a lot, because of what you said, I was able to do this, that and the other. And that's awesome, that's so powerful.
Just
that's
that
what
one
we've done.
little thing.
Yeah, we've done, 59 of these in a row now, but it's all about the right intention, about helping people move in a forwards direction.
Nice tights. We're just checking out some guy.
Catherine, you can have him back. I'm getting rid of him this week. We're done.
Thomas says absorb all the info related to self so you can understand. Yes, if you can absorb that, that's the big thing for a lot of people. Thomas, what we say is that people can't really reflect on themselves that well. And maybe none of us can really reflect on ourselves that well. And it's good to, in certain circumstances, Tony and I like bounce off ideas and thoughts with each other on how we can actually act better, or what we're saying to ourselves sometimes. Like, we've talked recently about terminology, about, what's going on, what I'm saying about myself, what Tony's saying about himself. And when we're not together, how does that actually then relate to the rest of the parts of your life as well.
I just want to say, so from a reflection point of view, you can absolutely improve that skill, and we say it here probably most Sundays, to be honest. There's 2 questions that you can ask yourself. Can you remember? It's not a test, by the way.
No. I'm going to try and remember it.
Go.
What did I do well today?
Yes.
And how can I improve?
Yeah. What can I do differently? Absolutely. And so they're 2 questions. That's okay. So it's the same. So they're 2 questions that each and every one of you can ask yourself on a daily basis, right? And be honest with yourself. I mean, this is an honesty exercise here. Oh, I've got hands going everywhere. This is an honesty. Yes, I've got real issues with my hands. There's an honesty exercise for you. But this is an honesty exercise, right? It's also about when you're with other people, getting vulnerable, right? Letting your guard down. Again, go back to the point we said earlier around, a lot of our conversations at the surface level, right? And particularly as blokes, right? We have this big mask up, and we find it very hard to bring the mask down. But it's when you bring the mask down that you truly get into your heart. That's ultimately where you want to be. What does your heart say? What's your heart telling you that you should be doing? That's the key for me.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I don't know if it's a state of who I am. I don't know if this is the same for you, Tony. But ultimately, when I start to talk to someone, this probably gets into deep conversations fairly quickly. And I guess that's where, a lot of people are on the surface. How's the weather? What's happening with the family? Good. Da-da-da-da. You go bypass all that thing, and I just want to go deep and find out what's going on with people. How do they tick? What are they made of?
Why do you think you do that?
I'm exploring. I'm curious. I want to know more.
But why do you want to know more?
I'm fascinated by people and human behaviour.
Yeah, and where I was going, there were some loaded questions, and so it's all about.
I love loaded questions.
You want people to be able to move forward, right? Ultimately, and that's why you do. That's why you do what you do, right? So from a buyer's agency point of view, you're wanting to help people get into property, right? I don't know what the stats are, you would know, but the number of people that have investment property, one investment property is low, and then I think that if they've got a second one, that's even lower.
It's 2 million people around Australia that have one or more investment properties, but there is only 20,000 people in Australia that have 6 or more investment properties. That's less than 1%. It's like 0.0001%.
So it's incredibly small, right? And so for you go deep very quickly because you want to help people move forward. The other is you want to be efficient with your time as well, and so it's nice to have all the niceties. We're nice people, but it's like,
come on, let's go.
Let's get into it.
Cut the bullshit.
Let's maximise our time.
Cut to the chase, wasn't it? Hollywood, mate. We're Hollywood here. Cut to the chase.
That's it. Straight into it.
Straight into it.
Get deep.
If you're not prepared to get deep, get out.
Oh my gosh.
How it works?
I look forward to seeing that post during the week, hey?
Don't want to get deep, get out.
There we go.
Straight away. This is where the beauty
You
is.
can say that about a pool. If you don't want to get deep, get out. No? Swimming? No? Anyway, okay, carry on. Okay. I'm totally off script this morning.
I shouldn't go in with the pimp stuff like I did last week.
Oh, yes.
So away from the pimp stuff.
We'll edit that out. That's okay.
That sort of thing.
Thank goodness we're not live, right?
Well, you said get deep and get out. Okay?
Go, please.
First point I want to talk about is, are you exploring the thoughts that are coming in? Are you exploring your own thoughts, Tony? Tell us about that.
Well, I say to you, we just said it, right? So every day, every single day, you want to challenge yourself and ask yourself what went well. Now, if you're hearing me say this for the first time, there's a deliberate reason why I say ask yourself what went well. Because if you ask yourself, how did I go? Right? What we tend to do, or if you ask someone else, how'd you go? What we tend to do is we have a mind that has a negative bias, and we'll come up with all the things that have gone wrong and the complaints and the missed opportunities and the tale of woe. Right, so when you ask yourself what went well, it actually rocks you back on your heels and you have to stop and think about it. And the great news is that we always do things well. I could perhaps do holding the phone better, but we always do things well. So you start with that
question.
It's
like you're on a ready for the sword fight.
Okay? Just leaning in.
Leaning in.
And the second question you can ask yourself is, what is it that I can do differently moving forward? What can I do differently tomorrow? So I ask myself these questions before I go to bed. What can I do different tomorrow? It's not, what did I do wrong today and beat yourself up and what. No, it's what can I do differently moving forward? Because there's a power of language. You said it about 5 minutes ago, right? And so there are things that you can ask yourself, but certainly when you're with other people, right? take that opportunity to get a little bit deep with people. Yes, we're going to talk about the footy and we're going to talk about the weather and all that stuff. But right now, a lot of states are really hurting on the back of the whole COVID-19 thing, right? And we've talked about here before, one day a year they have this program called Are You OK? Why not do that 365 days a year? Like, really ask someone, are you OK? When the answer is fine...
Are you okay?
You're asking them, are you?
Yep.
When the answer is fine, typically...
It's not.
It's an opening to go deeper.
That's right. Well, you know what? Like from the movie The Italian Job, fine means freaked out, insecure, neurotic, emotional.
Right, I didn't know that. Wow, there you go.
Watch The Italian Job, you'll see.
Okay,
Thomas says, "I can't. If you can't swim, don't go in the deep end." It's one step at a time. So go in the baby pool first, and then start leveling up. When you can start, you get more strength, you get more ability, you get more skills. Same way in property, same way in various areas of life. If you're taking on a new challenge, maybe you take those baby steps. Maybe sometimes you do jump in the deep end and, you make mistakes and sometimes you might fail, but you'll learn from the experience as well. And maybe not to jump in the biggest deep end or jump off the cliff or anything like that. That's a bad analogy.
No, but the other thing that I'd add to that is that there's so much information available in 2020, and so there's whatever you're trying to do, I'll guarantee you that someone's already done it. Like that is the reality. Okay, so if you
We're floaties, get a coach. I like that. Tony Gallagher.
We're floaties and get a coach. There you go, beautiful, Tony. Thank you. But the reality is that whatever you're trying to do, someone's already done it. So Google it up. Learn from their mistakes. So you don't necessarily have to go into the deep end without floaties, like Tony's saying. It's like, well, there's other people that can help you. There's others that have gone before you, so they've laid the pathway. They've left some breadcrumbs for you. Or get a coach. Have someone to walk with you through the process. Or a mentor, someone who's done this before.
Let's have a look at it, even for us, just quickly. Let's look at those two questions that you talked about. What did I do well yesterday, and what can I do differently? So in terms of myself, I went out and did some property inspections with a friend of mine that is looking to move up to this area. So I went out there, explored, had conversations with them, and with the deep questioning, that led to the wife actually building rapport. She's a very direct kind of person, and with those, I was like, yeah, it's great to be direct and so forth, but you walk in a house and like, this is rubbish, going out. And it was hilarious. It was just so funny. I was like, it's not only, I started to talk to her about it, it's not only about having that, seeing the house, it's having that conversation with the agent that's going to bring you rapport, and maybe not buying that house, but buying the next one. So that's what vitally important. And then she went into the next open inspection. She spent a time with the real estate agent. He gave her information about another property just by building that rapport. So for me, what I did well was train her into being a better property buyer.
Fantastic. And did you find that in those conversations you were mirroring her, like you're adjusting your style to suit her?
Yes, I would say there was a little bit of that. I probably kept it a little bit fun, and she's very direct. So sort of pushed it out there in a direct way. In a direct way to her, and then pulled it back, and relating to, I don't want to be like rude and arrogant with her I was like, well, you're doing wrong, but I've seen other people do very much the same, and then I told her that I actually went to an open inspection. That person is actually on here. I'm not going to name their name. Went to an open inspection. They said how beautiful the house is and all that, and I actually said, you've just cost me 10 grand. Because we're in a situation where you've told them how good it is, but what we want to do is actually hold our cards close to our chest. So that particular person, and shout out to that person, I can't name names.
You're about to.
I'm going to get in trouble.
We can always edit it out.
Massive trouble. But that's what it's all about. Having those ideas and thoughts where you can actually hold your card close to your chest when you're in and looking at properties, like this person did yesterday. Well, they're very direct. So the cards are out on the table. Then once they started building rapport with some of the agents, they got some information that was really relevant for them to then make a strategy to buy. What I need to do differently yesterday, maybe probably spend a little bit more time reflecting on myself yesterday. So that was one that I probably didn't spend. Sure. She's named herself. It's your mother.
Right.
It was Catherine.
Right.
So, sorry, Mum.
The name's been revealed.
Matching then leading, yes. I agree, Tony. So that was what Tony Tony Meredith was
That's
talking
okay.
about.
The other Tony.
The other Tony.
There's Tonys. We're
And
everywhere. We're taking over.
That's what, so that's a little bit of a lesson about me yesterday. Tony, can you give a lesson about you yesterday?
Yeah, so what went well? So given it's been raining here in Queensland, I had a really productive day yesterday, which is fantastic. So I was pleased with the amount of outputs that I got, which is great. From a what would I do differently? So I had a tough old conversation with my young fellow last night that didn't go the way that I wanted to, and I said a few things that I shouldn't have said. So that's something that I... anyway, that's something that for me to improve today. Look, I'm getting better, but it's a work in progress for me to be very very conscious of how I speak to him, and we've got a few deeper underlying issues that we work through there with him. But yeah, so that's the big one for me is I wasn't proud of myself.
What aspect? Not to get into too deep.
We've got dogs here, and it's all happening.
Yeah, there's turkeys,
bush
dogs,
turkeys, the whole lot.
It's just you, mate.
Dr. Doolittle. That's what I am.
You check track the wildlife.
I do.
If there was one word that you could explain how you could do things better, differently from yesterday, what word would it be?
Calm.
Okay, the word patience came to mind for me.
Calm. Yeah, calm. And I started off calm, but there was a few things that did start to elevate my blood pressure, but calm is the word. Yeah.
I guess with
and patience.
You know what? And I guess with Cuzzy Beck has come on. I guess with family sometimes, well, a lot of the times, those levels of emotion do come up, whether you like them or not. You know, we should almost be treating friend relationships like we do family relationships.
I agree.
But there's underlining emotions around it. I think we've got to have an understanding around that because that happens to each and every one of us. So the level of emotions raised, meaning that you are going to probably fire back quicker with family than you are with maybe other people because of those ties.
Well, it's familiarity, right? Familiarity breeds contempt, and that's what it comes down to. And also as the father of my son as well. So So look, but I'm improving in that particular area. It's I'm pleased with certainly the part of the conversation, but there's parts that I need to get better at. So in answer to your direct question, that's the big one.
Calm.
Big one for me. Calm. Yeah, absolutely.
So breathing through it, which is a really good one for us to think about for each and every one of us. It's a good reflection to have these sort of ideas. And I think the great thing what Tony just said is he's improving on it. So you're taking those little steps. You don't have to be all of a sudden perfect about how to deal with it. And maybe that can be confronting if you get to a point where you're like this all the time with family members, then all of a sudden you're, this psychologist and
massively different.
And like that can change the dynamics of the conversation.
100%, massive changes. And I've seen it in my family and with friends. And so it's about those gradual improvements. The thing you want to say to yourself is, I want to be better today than I was yesterday, and I want to be better tomorrow than I am today. And if you take that approach, and better can be that much, and go back to the point that Thomas said earlier around going to the deep end, right? And we use the example of pools today, but normally we'll talk about in a running sense or a walking sense. It's just start. Whatever that thing is that you want to improve, just start it. If you can be better today than you were yesterday, that's called progress. And if you can be better tomorrow than you are today, that's called continual progress. And if you can string 7 of those days together, then you're really starting to get momentum. And then, how many days does it take? 66 days. And then all of a sudden, you're really building the habit. But just start with small increments, because over time, when you add up all those small little increments and you look back, say, in a month or 6 months or a year, and you look backwards, we've had a massive improvement. But what I find with people, whether it be in personal development or in business, right? This happens with a lot of cases in business. People say, I need to grow my sales. And people will look for the one big thing that provides 100% of the improvement. Whereas what I say is have 101% things. When you have 101% things, the math is still the same.
Yep.
Right? So it's about just focus on the little things. And also when we do the little things, it doesn't seem as scary. It doesn't seem as overwhelming to us if we have these slight improvements. And again, when you reflect back in a week, in 2 weeks or whatever, then you go, my gosh, like I've made a really great improvement.
Oh, if I reflect back on my property investing from the first property I bought up until now, what a dramatic improvement, but that's taken 18 years.
Yeah, correct.
No overnight success. So like Tony said, small little steps, and then all of a sudden you'll just realise, I'm just like, how far have I actually come? And that's the big picture. I just want to reflect on Tony
please.
Gallagher. Some of the comments today, Tony, very impressed, mate. Lessons are seeds.
I love it.
Lessons are seeds. I don't know, Tony. I'm getting more, more
deeper.
dynamic, deeper thoughts, elevated in deepness, elevated in thought process. Like higher level of thinking is probably what I was trying to.
Elevated thinking, and then if lessons are seeds, where is the fertilizer and the water? Because that's the next thing, right? So lessons are seeds. So now we want
daily actions.
We want this plant to come out from the ground.
We need germination, Tony.
We do, right? We absolutely
Tony
do.
Gallagher.
The other Tony, right?
The other Tony. Hayden says bye. Yeah, I'm all about that.
Yeah.
Better
Bye,
every
bye, 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 bye.
better every day, guys, says David. Good to have you on, David. Tony says, thanks, guys. I am very styled and balanced at the moment.
Great. Well done.
Styled.
Keep it up.
How is styled? Very styled.
Very fashionable. Is that what he's meaning?
Luke and Tony. I don't know. Like, maybe that's a higher level of thinking.
But certainly
it's a
balanced.
new
Very,
term.
very balanced. I'm pleased. I'm pleased.
Where are we
for you,
up
Tony.
to? Okay, second point.
Question 1.
We're up to second point. We're like
25 in.
25 in. Point number 2. Are you listening and considering the advice and ideas of others?
Yeah.
And this is the big one. Advice and ideas, and also questions. So we talked about that a little bit earlier, of just listening to those questions, allowing you enough openness to actually explore some of the thoughts and feelings of other people. Sometimes we get a sense that we actually can't see what is actually in front of us, or we can't reflect on ourselves. Other people are probably often the better ones to do it. But you've got to really reflect on who are those people that are doing it. Are they more successful in what they're doing than you? It's kind of like clients that are coming through right now. They can choose to take the advice and answer the questions that I'm exploring, or they're just like, they know it better than I do.
Well, what I want to say is that quite often what we will do is we will default to our family and friends for advice. And I'm going to suggest that that's not always the best group of people to do that for, because quite often what they'll do is they'll tell you what you want to hear with the desire to keep you safe. They don't want to hurt you. And that's where someone like me, a coach, comes in. Doesn't have to be me, although it can be. But someone like me comes in and I will tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. And I'll do it in a way that's very diplomatic, of course, but it's about getting you to move forward. You don't want to look back in 5 years' time and still be feeling safe and in that same spot with the advice from family and friends. It's about having people shake you up a little bit, be honest with you, but doing it from a place of great intent to get you to move forward. The other thing from a recipient's point of view, from a coachee's point of view, is really open up your heart. Like as blokes, I touched on it before, bring that mask down and open up your heart and be vulnerable with this.
It's a Madonna song.
Is it?
Open your heart to me.
Oh, it is too, of course.
But it's more the romantic side of things.
The melodies, but it's about be vulnerable, right, and allow your guard to come down.
How vulnerable are we right now?
Well, mate,
standing in front of the park, everyone's coming past and go, "Who are these two dickheads?"
They need to be here, don't they? They need to be taking in the information.
Tony, Meredith equals tough love. Absolutely.
Thank
We're
you,
on the
Peter.
tough love.
Absolutely.
The fans love it.
That's what it's about, right? Because it's about getting people to move forward, because I do my job when I get you to move forward. That's what I do. I wake up.
I've had some tough conversations with Peter as well. I think if you can't allow yourself to have that tough conversations, then you're not going to move forward.
No, you won't. You won't move forward. And so it comes down to, why do you want to move forward? It comes down to what's your goal, and then you often need people to help you on your goal, and that's okay. That's perfectly okay. That's what we're here for, to help you move forward and get out of your own way.
How many people have helped you, Tony? I know that plenty have helped me.
Directly, hundreds have helped me directly, but thousands have influenced me, right? So thousands and thousands have influenced me through books, through podcasts, through going to events, etc., etc. So it's both the direct interaction, the direct influence, but also the indirect influence as well.
You've got to be careful about, we talked about family and friends earlier on, because they might have Tony said about the safety aspect, keeping you safe, but also they got their own thoughts and feelings, and sometimes what they're asking and saying to you is probably a reflection of themselves, not you.
100% it
right? You've got to see where they're coming from in towards giving you advice. Maybe often it's the advice that we're giving others is the advice that is actually for ourselves, not for others.
Absolutely.
So really reflect on that. If you're giving advice, is actually for you or is it for them? That's why questions are probably better than advice. And obviously Tony and I probably like to ask a few loaded questions, but that might trigger a little bit of conversation as well.
Yeah, look, it sure does. The key thing that touch on your point there is around the insecurities of people. And I spoke about this, actually I think it was last week, where we talk about as humans we're a herd mentality, right? And so we want to be connected and close to people. And when you want to do something that's different from the herd, then people will try desperately to pull you back, right? And it's typically your family and friends who'll say, don't do that thing, leave it to someone else, gee, that's scary,
Don't
you're not
spend
good
7
enough.
weeks in Queensland.
Don't spend, exactly, right? And so it's about people projecting their own insecurities onto you, but that's where it's about finding a new herd, because again, we're a herd mentality, so we can't avoid that. That's who we are, that's our makeup, but it's about find the right herd, the herd for you, whether it be in property circles, whether it be in business circles, whether it be in health and wellness circles, it doesn't really matter, right? Find the right herd for you to that you can learn from.
I've got to laugh about what I was saying last week.
What were you saying last? Oh, yeah.
Okay, we won't go there.
No, don't go there.
David Bledge, I know, I already went there. Hayden says it's never about the money. Luke Moroney, even when it is. Absolutely.
Well,
never.
money is a byproduct, right? And I say this
Never about the money.
when we spend time focusing on why do you want to do something, if you're doing it for the money, you're going to come unstuck very, very quickly. Like, you truly will come unstuck very quickly. I do understand the importance of the commercial side of things, and money is a byproduct, but it's all about finding that something that you love doing. This bloke absolutely loves property. He eats it, he breathes it, he wants to talk it all the time.
What do you think I did yesterday on a Saturday when it's pouring down rain and I don't have to do anything, so I go out and meet with a friend, try and help him buy property?
Absolutely, right? And here's the thing, when you love something, right, you'll never work another day again in your life. And so as you love something, you'll spend more time in it. When you spend more time in it, you'll refine the skills, you'll get better at it, and eventually you'll be able to commercialise that and make money from it. But the primary reason is because you love doing it. Because property is not easy, right? So, like, how long did it take you to get from number 1 to number 2? Like 9 years?
10 years.
10 years,
yeah.
10 years, right? So it's not easy, and there's plenty of time during that period where I'm sure you went through the ebbs and the flows, the ups and the downs, right? But
I'm like, what am I doing?
Correct.
There's no concept and idea about what I was doing.
Yeah. But because you loved it, right, you kept moving.
Well, initially
forward.
I didn't actually know that I loved it, but it took me time to realise about the love for property. So, the initial involved, let it sit there, and then, work on different areas of my career, because my mind at that time was like, 9 to 5 all your life and then retire. When I started to change those ideas and thoughts and talk with people that resonated with me, it kind of allowed me to open up, like we're talking right now. People were giving me advice about property and investing. I did some courses. I did some on share trading, on property, on various aspects. And then property keep coming back for me, keep coming back. And that's how, like Thomas says, it's like a passion. It then became a passion for me when I started to say, well, I like going out and open inspections. I like on a Saturday walking around and checking out what the auction prices are, even when I'm not buying, just to check out what's going on in the market. But that becomes then a passion that I would rather than spend 4 hours going to open inspections than maybe going to the beach sometime. But I do love the beach as well. That's the idea behind it. That's what it is. Property is simple, but it's beyond, not easy. Absolutely, Hayden.
So to Thomas's point, but it's beyond passion, right? So there's a model
it's a way of life.
Yeah, it's a purpose, right? So what I talk about often is the Ikigai model. I've mentioned it here a number of times, which is IKIGAI. I'll put it in the show notes, but Google it up. Wait till we're finished, of course. But it's all around 4 intersecting circles, and so 2 of those circles are what do I love and what am I good at. Now that is passion, right? So you can love something, you can be good at something, but the other 2 circles is what makes it different. That is that what does the world need? So you may love something and be good at something, but if no one needs it, right, then, okay, so it stays a passion. So what does the world need? And the last one is, what can I commercialise, right? So how can I then turn this into a commercial business? So again, go back to the money point. Money is a byproduct, and that's your purpose. So ikigai, Japanese for reason for being. So passion's the start, Thomas, but it takes it another level.
Are you doing in that order? Are you working on the passion side, those two things first?
Yeah, absolutely.
Then you're working on
Correct.
the next and then the commercial sense afterwards.
Because that's the easiest, right?
Right.
And if you want to...
Because I guess in terms of passion, you're going to spend more time on it, and then it becomes more of a commercial aspect if you're actually going to spend more time on it.
Correct. You know, because when you love it, like I said before, you by just doing it, you refine your skills. You want to challenge yourself to grow, to be better at it. And the more that you do this thing, and like you said, you didn't realise that property was a love straight up, but it grew on you, right? You went, hang on a second, I really love doing this. I can see myself doing this for the rest of my life, and hence you've gone and done what you've done. So if you want some information that I send on purpose and passion, send me a direct message, and I'm more than happy to send something through to you guys. But that's what I teach people, is that. Now, what we have, Hayden said it's simple, it's just not easy. Correct. But I would say that about everything, Hayden. So I would say that about personal development. I would say that about exercise, etc. It's simple enough concept. It's not easy. Losing weight, it's a simple enough concept. It's just not easy. And what I mean by that is you need to have a calorie deficit in your day, right? We all know that. People know that's what you need to do. We know, I think, generally that you need to eat the right foods and move a little bit. But yet there's a deeper reason why we don't do it. Right?
Absolutely.
So simple, not easy.
And that leads us to the third point, which is around the actions that you're going to take.
Yeah.
Lou, good to have you on. Thomas says thank you. What actions are you going to take from all this?
Yeah.
So you might be reflecting in the mirror about giving yourself your own advice. You might be hearing from other people with questions or loaded questions or advice from others. Then what are you taking that in? But then, what actions are you actually taking? We always talk about actions. Even look in property investing. I talk about turning on your tap. TAP, team action patience.
Yep.
You've got to remember the action. I guess the last part in patience we won't probably talk too much about today, but the action is super important to get yourself involved and making those action steps happen. You know, maybe it's first thought of it. You don't know what it's about. It's not really yet a passion like it was in property investing when I started. It wasn't really a passion at that stage, but I took action. So I'm testing and trying things out in my life. That was me in my young 20s. But look at me now into my 40s. Then I've developed that into realize that it is a passion for me. And then I'm on that purpose train like Tony talked about with Ikigai as well.
But you're still testing and trying things, right? So you were testing and trying things back then, and they're just different things that you're testing and trying.
Well, lifeline, right?
But just in business, right? Just in business, you're always testing and trying new things. But I said it way back at the start of this session this morning, awareness plus action equals transformation, right? So you can be aware, you can go, you know what? I'm holding myself back, I'm procrastinating in that area, I'm good in these areas, whatever it might be. But if you choose not to move forward, then what does it really matter, right? So a Chinese proverb, which is to know and not to do is to not know at all. So you may know something, but if you don't do anything about it, then what does it really matter if you know about it? So it's all about taking action. And here's the thing with action. A lot of people think that action is reading a book or watching a YouTube clip or listening to a podcast. Now, they are great things to help you. But action happens when you hop on the field, when you put the boots on and you get on the field and you have the tough times, right? And in sporting terminology, they call it getting match fit, right? You can be as fit as you want on the training paddock, but it's when you get out there and play a game that you truly get match fit. And it's no different if you want to do property, if you want to do business, if you want to do health and wellness, whatever it might be, you've got to take the physical action to get you to move forward.
Absolutely. Peter says, I initially joined educational programs to learn about making money with property. Somehow I see myself in self-development.
Of course, because it's all about that. It doesn't matter what it is that you do. It's actually the self-development piece that's going to be the difference. So success for me boils down to three areas. So the first one is knowledge, 10%. Second one is skill. So knowledge is, we just touched on it, right? You need to know some stuff. The second one is skills, 15%. So just because you know it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be good at it, or are you even going to take any action. But the remaining 75% of it sits in here. It sits in, which is why we do what we do. We've done 59 of these. It sits in between your ears, and so it's all around working on your mind, the self-development. Another saying that I have, which is in order to build a better business, and whether it be a property business or any type of business, in order to build a better business, you need to build a better you. That's the key. You need to build a better you, right? And whether you're a solopreneur, whether you're a manager of teams, whatever it is, you need to work on you first and foremost. So, Peter, that's exactly right. It's all about personal development. It's just that there's different ways you can go and create wealth. You happen to be choosing property, but there's plenty of other ways as well.
It's up to me. What's that saying? It's up to me. If it was something, it's up to me.
If it's meant to be, it's up to me.
That's it.
Well, that's called taking personal responsibility.
This is why we work so well together.
Absolutely.
I come out with different ideas, and then he clarifies them all and brings them in.
Yes. So it's all around taking personal responsibility, because here's the thing. It's your life. If you can't get your life moving, I can assure you no one's going to get it moving for you. So even as a coach, like, I can sit there and give you a whole range of tips and tricks and strategies and whatnot, but if you choose not to do things, like you guys are doing your sit-ups, right?
Yep.
If people choose not to do the sit-ups, you're never, ever, ever going to get six-pack abs, right? So you've got to do the sit-ups, you've got to do the hard work.
Apparently Peter thinks we're the dynamic duo. Oh, we have been talking about Batman and Robin before, so we're trying to work out which one's which. Anyway, doesn't matter.
But yes, I agree with you, Peter.
So the conversation today is about deep conversation, and we implore you, for each and every one of you, have one deep conversation today with someone else. I'm having plenty every day. It's a natural thing for me. But have some deep conversation. Ask some really powerful questions to that person. You know, where do they want to go? What do they want to explore? Some ideas. Any other questions that you want to bring?
Well, it's the open questions, being the who, what, where, when, why. It's all of those. So it's, what is it that people... It's always around start with the end in mind. So for me, that's a really a simple process. Again, it's not easy, but it's start with the end in mind. So what is it that you want to do? Now, the end doesn't need to be in 5 or 10 years from now. The end could be next week. So this time next week, what would you like to have achieved in your week ahead? You might say, I want to go and have 2 deep conversations. Terrific. I want to go and do a walk for 3 mornings this week. Fantastic. So that's your end, right? Someone else might sit there and go, my end is 2 years from now or 5 years from now or whatever. So start with the end in mind, because now you've got something in front of you to work towards. Right, you always want to have something in front of you to work towards, because if you haven't got something in front of you, by default, you're going to be looking behind you. Yep. Right, and so we're going to be looking back in the rearview mirror, and so it's always have that something down the road in front of you, because that's now, I've got a bit of purpose. So when my feet hit the floor in the morning, it's like, cool, I'm going to be working towards that thing. So it's about starting with the end in mind, and then having some questions around that. Have you thought about how you're going to get there? Why is that important to you? Who do you need to speak to? Where can you go? Where can you turn? There's an amazing website that gives you all sorts of information. I'm going to give it to you now. Get your pens out. It's www.google.com, right? It's an amazing website, and I always do this with people, because people say, Tony, I've got no idea how to do that. Great, I'm going to give you that website for free. Because truly, it's about, there's so much information there. Be literal with things. How do I start in property investing? Who do I turn? You know what I mean? Like, it's just get really literal with this stuff. And so there's some things that you can do.
It's simple. Like I hadn't said earlier, it's simple, it's not easy.
It's not easy because people don't do it, right? It's about being resourceful. And resourcefulness means, I'm not sure where to go for the answers, but gee whiz, I'm going to ask around. I'm going to ask Luke or Tony. I'm going to, whatever it might be, I'm going to figure out, how do I get there? Because here's the thing with goals. People don't always look, you didn't have how do I go and create a huge property portfolio? It's like, well, I'm going to figure this thing out. I'm going to ask people who've done it before me. There's plenty of people who've done what you've done, right? And be resourceful with it. Absolutely, and that's what it is. So many people ask me, right, day in, day out, how did you create that property portfolio? Do you mind me asking? I was like, yeah, I could be here for hours explaining you step by step on how to... But, the simple fact was it's just about taking action. That was taking action and having patience. I haven't developed any property. There's property developers on here. I haven't developed any property myself. I haven't done that aspect of it. It's really probably not me. But what I have done is just take action. When the going was good,
I made hay while the sun shine. Finance back in 2012 and 13 was very easy. So I just took advantage of those times.
Yeah, but even if you go,
But action.
2012, and some people might go, oh well, finance was easy in 2012, and that was a different time, and
That's one aspect.
That doesn't apply now. My point is, right, that sure, maybe the best time to get finance was in 2012, but here's the second best time, today, right? That's the second best time, and so it's about, okay, well, if things have changed a little bit, which they have, what do I need to do differently to make it happen? Who do I need to speak to? Who do I need to spend time with? Blah, 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 blah. It's right about now. What are the actions that you're going to take? Don't dwell on the fact that, and so many people say, oh, I should have gotten to the market 5 years ago. I've missed my boat. I've missed the boat.
Just get involved now.
Just get involved. Just take the action.
Because the
and get
thing
started.
is, with the analogy of property that we're using, is that it might come back to better finance times in a year or 2 or 3 down the track. So if you get started now, you might have that uplift in equity from one property to move on to that second, third, fourth really quickly after that. So that's the thing, and that the same analogy can be used in various areas of life. Imagine you were in a 9-to-5 job and you're starting out from the basement level, right? And you start working your way up. You start doing extra time in various, what do you say? Sit by someone else who has the experience, and just learn from them. If you can do those steps now, which I spoke to someone about yesterday, then you might be in 1 year or 2 years' time ahead of everybody else. So when it comes to a job vacancy coming up, you might slot into that position straight away, or you might be put forward because all the work you've done today and tomorrow and the next day, in 3 years' time, that's going to work well for you.
Which is the P word that is in your TAP acronym, which is the patience. So people want things right now. And my advice to you is that it doesn't work that way, right? But you can do plenty of stuff right now, but it's not about instant gratification. But a lot of people go, but I'm not prepared to put in the effort for 3 years. You didn't go from property 1 to property 2 for 10 years. For 10 years, right? So he stuck at it, he stuck at it, and that's how he created success. The other thing I want to say is that in regards to your people who say to you, hey, how do you create such a great property portfolio? My advice, not being in the conversations, is he started with one property, right? Started with one property. So a lot of people go, oh my gosh, I want to have 30, however many you've got, and I want to be like Luke and blah, blah, blah. Firstly, don't compare yourself to Luke. And secondly, where are you at and how do you take progress over perfection?
Absolutely. Good way to end it for today. Yeah. We've been talking about the deep conversations, so hopefully you're having some deep conversations today and over the next week. Tony, hungry, ready for a bit of
We're about to have a deep conversation. You and I. We're going to have a chat over what we're going to select on our menu this morning. Very deep conversation. No, it'll get a lot deeper than that, I assure you. So,
I assure you.
But hey, thank you. Thank you for tuning in. It's been a lot of fun. I'm glad the rain's held off. Right, we were worried at 5:30 this morning.
The cloud's clear for us and for you guys.
It's like just parted. Like I'm just looking around. There's clouds everywhere.
It's so cold today either, eh?
It's blue.
I could take off a jacket or two.
Yeah.
And even the fans are loving it.
They love it.
Absolutely. Yay!
Hey!
All right, we better go before we create more trouble. All right, see you guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Have a great week. Bye.
Thanks.